Jon Snow knew nothing, but now you do. Do you know something? Oh, you look lost, but I think we just found you. I think this is your kind of channel. Hi, hello, welcome. It's another Wednesday, and you know what that means? It's another Criminology one-on-one. Today, we're going to talk about an important topic. I seem very happy about it. It's a very serious topic. I need to tone it down a couple of notches. What we're going to talk about today. Actually, this video kind of contains spoilers, so if you haven't watched this, maybe watch this episode I'm going to talk about before actually diving into this video. You have been warned, otherwise, you know, the concept will make sense to you. If you don't want to watch it, it's totally fine, I'll just summarize it for you. So, a couple of weeks ago I have watched Criminal UK, right? They have like different versions in different countries. It's this TV show on Netflix that deals with police interrogations, and then obviously people like behind the screen kind of like analyze it and offer their opinion while also researching on the case and trying to find out different information to help like the person that's actually interrogating the suspect. In particular, I'm gonna talk about the second episode of this season in the UK. They had like famous actors this year, so they had the actor that played Jon Snow, Kit Harington. Yep, that episode. Because I think it's not talked about often. You know when something is just like nudging your brain and doesn't stop for weeks? Because I watched it like the day that it was released, so it was kind of a few weeks ago. And I was always watching it from that perspective and thinking, wait, but there is something in criminology that I have studied that deals with this kind of thing. And that is Zemiology, or just the study of social harm. The episode is about this arrogant sales guy who has been accused of raping a woman that works for him in his company. During this interrogation, he mentions a person, a girl that this girl has been chatting about, talking to, so the people behind the screen actually investigate and find out that she is planning to profit out of these accusations of rape, sue him for a certain amount of money, and then cash it out and go on holiday with this girl. So first of all, just wanted to give a disclaimer in this video because of what I'm gonna say next. In no shape or form am I trying to undermine the work of the MeToo moment or just any work representing rape in television or film or series, but I definitely think there are different portrayals of false accusations of rape that aren't actually dealt with or represented in any way. And I have watched like seasons and seasons of SVU. Usually the false accusations of rape are portrayed in such a way where it's like either for a monetary gain or for some form of promotion. Stuff that I have never seen, and during this research it has popped up quite a bit. For example, is divorce and like false allegations that come during that process. Or just there's hundreds more that aren't just treated at all, that are not even mentioned anywhere, that are not even treated or dealt with in any TV shows. And I completely understand that because you don't want to discourage people to go and report rape, but then the flip side of it is what we're going to discuss today, and that's social harm. So the episode ends with Kit Harington being cleared of this accusation. Now they say he's free to go, right? And that's when he's like, no, you sit down. You have come to my office, you have basically pulled me out, arrested me, told me that I'm going to go chat with you on rape accusations. How do I go back to work now? How do I go back to, you know, I work in a small town, whatever, in the neighborhood. Everyone's gonna know this. It might be in the news, it might have already made the papers. No, he was like, give me a certificate, give me something so that I can go out there and basically be able to prove that I haven't been actually accused in this case. They're like, nope, that's just not how the justice system works. So today we're going to discuss why it's not how justice system works, what's wrong with it, what could be improved, and then finally we will discuss what to do if falsely accused of rape, for example, just based on like the research I have found, and you guys are welcome to contribute in the comments area as well. Let's go! So let's start by defining semiology and what it actually means. So semiology comes from the Greek word zemia, which means harm. So as I mentioned, we're going to be talking about social harm today. So what semiologists focus on is how, for example, a charge you might have, let's say personal drug possession or anything, influences and brings more harm than good to you in the future because of a job loss, because of how your family might treat you, because you might not be able to rent a flat, future job prospects, for example, On good implications, well, at least of justice system in the US, you should watch Christina Randall's channel. She was in prison for 3 years and is now telling her story, and again telling you from this point of view what she can and can't do as a felon. Also, if you do know of a channel in the UK that's similar, of like a UK person that has been to prison and is now telling this experience, please let me know down in the comments. I'm trying to find that out. Okay, cool. I'm trying to find a channel like that. Cool. Moving on. One of the key features of the social harm is that it encompasses social, economic, psychological, environmental repercussions of committing crime, and it originates from Edwin Sutherland's 1945 essay on Is White-Collar Crime Crimes? In this essay, Sutherland argued that it should be expanded. Crime should be an expanded field that should expand to like anything causing any social harm in the future. But what we will be focusing on here is Paul Tappan's theory that came 2 years after Sutherland, so in 1947. And that is the innocent until proven guilty, that it's wrong to just mark somebody, whether it's criminal, whether it's organization, so everything that the others or like Sutherland wanted to expand, so like white collar crime, mortgage mis-selling, influenced by poverty, by unemployment, and actually take into consideration whether they have been pronounced guilty in the court of law, and only then mark the organization or the individual as a criminal. Now let's focus on the actual episode, on the criminal, and kind of like break it down. So to do that, first we need to understand the definition of rape and the anonymity around it. So how is rape defined? By Sexual Offences Act in 2003, rape is when the perpetrator intentionally penetrates the vagina, anus or mouth of another person with his penis. The victim does not consent to the penetration, and he, the perpetrator, does not reasonably believe that the victim consents. A person consents if they agree by choice and have the freedom and capacity to make that choice. There are already so many problems with this definition already, because what, females can't rape? Then who can actually consent? How do you consent? Again, there's like so many loopholes, which is again one of the main issues when it comes to this topic. When thinking about the research on false allegations, you're probably going to have divided opinions on it, because in the UK, according to the Home Office, 4% of these allegations have been found to be false, whereas the stats in Europe and the US are between 2% and 6%. And now what you're thinking is like, well, that isn't that bad. What, 4 in 100 people? That's still 4 in 100 people that have been falsely accused. To put that into numbers, in 2019, so only last year, the stats are not like exact, but it's between 150 and 750 people that have been falsely accused. That's, well, at least 150 people that have probably lost their jobs, that have had significant consequences in getting those jobs later, lost probably family ties as well, had severe mental health issues due to these false allegations. The repercussions are severe, and they are severe exactly because if you have been accused of the crime, you cannot remain anonymous while your complainant can. So they can stay anonymous throughout the whole thing, while you can be named in the papers, you can be named in the court. However, it's not that they only name you once they find you guilty of committing a crime. So what happens at best with false allegations is that A, the complainant comes forward and says, no, actually I lied, this person didn't actually rape me or attack me, or B, that the police manages to prove that it was false. So there are no recent stats that we find here. The most recent ones I found were from 2007, stating that out of 676 people, they managed to prove that 100 of them have actually falsely been accused of rape. In both of those cases that I just mentioned now, those would be considered no crime rapes, so just like no criming. So how does that differ from false allegations to begin with? Actually, it's again bullshit, and it comes to the way how we see that definition of rape in the first place, because no criming technically means, it can mean there wasn't enough evidence to prove that there was a crime committed. It could mean the technicalities around consent. It could mean that the police didn't believe it, they couldn't find like enough evidence of where, when, how, why, who. and then they would just maybe dismiss the offenses, but it still doesn't mean that that person is now considered falsely accused. It just means that they believe that there was no sufficient evidence to prove that a crime happened, which, depending on who you are, again, in the case of Criminology UK, this person was obviously somebody in the business, right? So their name was probably already tarnished, even just during those hours where he went for like a police interrogation. Regarding anonymity, I completely understand that there is no way to do empirical research in this field as such, because again, how do you do research like this? You can't have a control group when it comes to rape. However, that leaves us with the belief that if we don't allow anonymity for the people who have been accused of crime, that will discourage other victims to come forward. However, that's again just a belief. It hasn't been researched, like there are no stats around that. And the justice system just continues on that basis because they don't want to discourage rape victims to actually make any allegations. However, then you have the flip side of this, where somebody needs to go into the world and actually deal with being accused of crime wrongfully, and there is no certificate. It's exactly how the episode ended. There is no certificate that you can show it's being like, hey, no, I actually was innocent here, and there's nothing, and you're just left with nothing. You're just left with going into the public and trying to clear your name out, trying to continue with your life as normal, knowing that the repercussions of this, even though you have never been found guilty of a crime, would be severe. So the next part of the video is just going to focus on what I have found as the advice of what people should do have they been falsely accused of crime at all these different stages. So stick around if that's what you're interested in. I'm gonna drop in the description box the super useful links from like the solicitors to different blogs, forums, step by step of what you should do. And finally, we're gonna talk about, if your name has actually appeared in the media, how to try to eliminate it from appearing in Google searches. So the first thing, and this is obviously something that's probably instilled into you if you are into true crime, if you have listened to any podcasts, followed any TV shows, and that is to find a lawyer, to find a solicitor. But I cannot stress how important this came through this research. And by that I mean, do not say a word to the police without one. Clarify, do they have the right to hold you? And if they do, then obviously ask them to like supply you with a solicitor. If they don't, go home, look for one. And when it comes to searching for a solicitor, obviously, yeah, find one. But then what people have said is interview them as if you're interviewing them for a job. You don't want somebody that's like, oh, it's my best friend and they are a solicitor. Cool, good, but then, you know, go and dig into certain details, like, have they dealt with these kind of accusations before? How many have they done successfully? Have they liberated anybody from prison? Have they gone to trial ever? All of these things that you need to like actually find out to see if that person is then good for you and can actually defend you. Have they done this before? Have they dealt with this before, and how successfully? So treat it as if it was a job interview, because your life depends on it. A lot of these are from the forums written by people who have been falsely accused, okay? So feel free to drop down the comments just saying it's not like coming just from my head or some like empirical research, it's actually from the people directly. Again, another forum I didn't mention when it comes to lawyer, if they obviously, you can make a phone call, so you can call the loved one and they can get you a solicitor as well. So if sort of like you are to be kept in a police station, then bring them to look it for you. And again, just advise the same thing to them. Also, if you watch this particular episode, on the note of the lawyer, again, never underestimate the thing that in the police station everything is recorded. So the sounds, the cameras, a lot of criminals or people maybe even falsely accused of crime have been caught that way, because they will again try to twist and turn everything, catch you out, the police, and then in court, in trial. Again, if you're even communicating with a lawyer, just be like, hey, do that probably outside of the police station in the first place, or make sure that nothing is monitored. But honestly, I think in the police stations everything is. And you have chosen your lawyer based again on the amount of cases they have acquitted, based on all of these questions that you have asked them, and you actually go to now be interviewed by the police. They actually might advise you to have a no comment interview, which is quite literally what it sounds like, where you just say no comment as the answer to any questions. And again, if they advise you to do that, do it. So what's advisable in those situations is to possibly bring a friend along so that the friend takes verbatim notes. So again, nothing can be misconstrued. You have your own version and you have the actual notes and the actual words you have given to the police. Not gonna lie to you, when I read this next part, I mean, I genuinely find false accusations to be one of the scariest things. However, what people don't talk about is how costly it is. Sometimes these solicitors will cost you £300 an hour, meaning for about 30 to 100 hours you might cash out anything from 10k to 100,000, which is like a deposit, a house. But yeah, they advise you to find a good one, the best one you possibly can, to keep roof above your head, to actually still manage to not tarnish your family's behavior afterwards. Because again, the repercussions of this can be serious. Now obviously, let's say you have been let out on bail or you are still in prison, but like family or friends have come to visit you, create a support group. Basically, they're saying that's important just again because we spoke about the repercussions or, well, not having one or what it can do to your family relations, and just be blunt with them. It's like, this is what has happened, this is it, and start collecting with them your own evidence. So whether it's pictures of like any bruises you might have, anything that you know that police might consider evidence in that case. And these people have said that it's important to then bring that version, like your version of events and evidence, to the solicitor to represent you. However, what is also super important, staying on top of like social media. Have you appeared anywhere else? In what sense? You know, is anybody trying to twist and turn your story? Being on top of that, but distancing yourself from reaching to the complainant. Do not reach to them or their friends. Doesn't matter if they're in the same friend group, because again, everything can be misconstrued. They can be wearing about, like, you don't know what their game is if they are on the side of the complainant. And trying not to get in touch, because everything, again, if you try to get in touch and apologize, then people are going to be like, well, why are you apologizing if you haven't done anything wrong? Again, every message, every piece of evidence can be misconstrued and used against you. And if it's on the flip side, if somebody from the complainant team or like their group of friends tries to contact you, I would say report it to the police. From, again, everything I've read, don't allow to be stunted. You really need to be on your best behavior when it comes to these cases. While you're under investigation, also what a lot of people don't think about is that everything that you search for on Google, every single piece of evidence, everything you post on social media is disclosable and is not subject to legal privileges. You don't have like GDPR rights. So people have suggested using like a flash drive to search through Tor, which I mentioned on Bessa Mafia, which is kind of like a website that it keeps your handles and everything private. But again, as I mentioned in the Bessa Mafia case, they can find your handles if they like claim your laptop and everything. So again, try to probably stay away from anything incriminating, anything that can be misconstrued. I'm not saying you're doing anything incriminating, but anything that can be seen like, hey, maybe they're trying to use this defense because this is exactly what they have done, kind of thing. Let's say now you have spoken to the solicitor, you have like prepared your case. Well, from what I've read on these forums, like with everything that's in any case administrative, like it will take a long time. So CPS, the police, just everything will take long time, during which time your name, yes, is still not clear, then you still need to be on your best behavior. However, now when you get the case file from the prosecution's team, what people have advised is to quite literally take it as it's your own file and you are making commentary on it. It's like as if you were marking somebody's essay, but it's the most important essay of their life. So you are quite literally to highlight every single thing that you think they might even ask you on the stand, and just actually think about what you can say on it. How can you contradict it? So all of these witness statements that you have gotten from the prosecution team, you need to really go through it line by line. In a sense, writing down, this is wrong and this is why. This is what evidence I have to support it, and that's with every single statement, every single piece of it. Obviously, at this stage, you are looking to go to trial, so treat finding a barrister the exactly same way. So sort of like have deep, profound conversations with them. Do it in a sense, again, of like telling your side of the story. talking to them as if you were again interviewing them, quite like with your own solicitor. From what I've read, you will have 2 to 3 visits to the court before the actual trial. Again, you're to suss out the prosecution side, but again, everything is being judged, so how you act to the judge, to the prosecution, to everybody, and you should try really to make the most out of that time and to actually ask any questions that you might have about the actual court day and like what you can expect so that you are prepared. Because when it comes to trial, don't be like your girl here who can't keep a straight face. No, if you smile, if you do as much as raise an eyebrow for the wrong thing, the jury and the judge are gonna see that and they're gonna judge it. Again, don't be like me here, wearing a freaking hoodie. You need to be well groomed, you need to dress smartly for the court because again, everything is judged and everything is perceived in a certain way. And take this court day as something you have been preparing now for months to be on your best behavior on that day. Meaning, again, when you go on the stand, how you act with the prosecutions and with people questioning you, again, matters. When you give your statement, again, try to give it as like easy to understand story, split in different paragraphs, split in different sections, telling it as it happened, and maybe take like sips of water here and there in between, again, for you to just manage to do it in a composed, nice manner, like this is what happens, this is what was wrong with these statements. And again, when you answer the questions, they will obviously try to get you to get angry, try to showcase you as this person, as the type of person that we see committing this type of crime. It's again how you manage to act, how you manage to deal and cope with all of these questions that come at you. Obviously, if everything works out and you are just acquitted of the crime, then what you need to make sure is that your solicitor contacts any local news or anybody that has released your name in any news in this context, and to try to clear your name. Make sure basically that everybody that has previously reported on you reports that you have been acquitted of the crime, because this is when you really begin to clear your name, because at this point your name has probably appeared at least in your local news. But as I'm referring to the Criminal UK episode with Kit Harington, in this case, because he was big in that business area, I think it was sales, whatever it was, so by that point, probably even though it was just a couple of hours that he has been just interrogating by the police, his name has probably already been tarnished. So obviously with some level of influence or like celebrity in the neighborhood or just in town, the more you will have to work in order to clear your name. There is a law on this, and that's the law that allows you to be forgotten. And it's kind of new, well, it was only applied since 2014. But what it allows for is on platforms like Google and Bing, that you can actually submit a form. I'll drop those down in the description box, where you can submit a form, you can explain basically your situation, that you have been found not guilty, that's again important, and basically that you want your right to be forgotten, you don't want to appear in the web searches when people search your name. However, with Google, they say that they might decline to remove certain information about financial scams, professional malpractice, criminal convictions, or public conduct of government officials. But when it comes to web searches, I think it is the best thing out there. Obviously, if I'm mistaken, correct me down in the comments. Because unfortunately, when we think about these kind of offenses today, you need to think about how to clear your name online as well as in real life. That's it when it comes to Zemiology and just the study of social harm, applicable obviously to this case. However, there is another branch that I have looked into a bit more, and that is because I know that personally, if I was to ever be falsely accused of anything, that in my mind what would motivate me is the fact that, well, that person can actually be imprisoned for this. If I manage to prove it, right? They can be in prison for either perverting the course of justice or just wasting the police time. So I was like, okay, give me something on this. Anything that I could find was beyond disappointing. Just, I don't know how else to word it. It's about 6.4% of these false allegations, and these are pretty recent stats, so between 2011 and 2012 the police only kind of bothered to research into 6.5% of the false allegations. So people are righteously so wondering online, where is the public outcry for this? Why is nobody really talking about how this is taken into consideration? Because on the flip side, imagine if we only investigating 6.4% of people that have claimed that they have been raped. That would cause huge public outcry. However, this isn't. But that's that on social harm and just breaking down the analysis of the Criminal UK episode. Let me know what I might have gotten wrong or what further information you might know on this. If I have missed out something in this process, because I have taken again like different things from different blogs online. Jon Snow knew nothing, but now you do know something, right? What was this? What was this? And well, Jon Snow knew nothing, but now you do. Do you know something? Maybe. At least, if anything, it will spark it up in your mind. Now when you go on to your next Netflix binge or just see another film binge, no, don't, at least I hope just inspires something in your mind to question when you see how rape is portrayed on TV, or just when you go onto your next Netflix binge and you just see how rape is portrayed, why is it portrayed that way, how do we see the false allegations, or maybe you have a personal case that you want to share and you're welcome to do that in the comments as well. But that's it for this Criminology one-on-one. I have nothing else to tell you and nothing else to say, so this is a goodbye. Bye guys.